Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Tim Burchett just goes nuclear on the CNN reporter for decades of bad reporting, fake news, and now carrying water for members of Tren de Agua. Let's dive in.
Tom Homan, I'll put this up on the screen, said we're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. All I'm asking you, and you are an elected member of Congress, and we certainly respect that role, what your advice is to the White House. Do you think that the White House has the responsibility to follow rulings from the federal judiciary?
I think President Trump has the ability and authority to protect this country from unlawful entry and from criminals conducting criminal activity, and I believe that he acted appropriately and Tom Homan acted appropriately, and that's why I believe overwhelmingly in this country people support that, and they think this judge has overstepped his bounds.
Well, but so no matter what a judge
and he's
says,
taking the side of a bunch of criminals.
He hasn't taken any side yet. Congressman, he hasn't taken any side yet. All he's done is put a stay on the White House action here so that he can review their use of their novel use, frankly, of the Alien Enemies
Oh, come
Act.
on. These guys, listen. These guys, the difference between God and these judges is God knows he's not one of these judges. They're arrogant. They practice this type of thing all the time. And if you had a conservative one doing it, you all would be raising total hell.
Again, Congressman,
this isn't a question about the media.
This isn't a question about the media. No one's taking a side here. Congressman,
yes,
no one's taking a side here.
He is not.
I'm asking you about the Constitution. Is asking about the Constitution. Is asking about the Constitution taking a side. All I'm asking you is about the Constitution, what you think of it, and what you would advise this White House and your feeling about judicial rulings. And that seems to be upsetting you. I'm just trying to get your position on this and what you would advise the White House going forward.
It's not upsetting. I guess what upsets me is that you all at CNN continuously take the side of the far left, and that's why your ratings continue to plummet. And I do not ever understand why y'all do that. Every time. I know you got to take the opposite side on everything, but you all are wrong on this one. Listen, this is a gang that took over an apartment complex in Colorado. They murdered people. They are criminals.
We're trying to understand. Now, you can argue.
They are not American citizens.
You can, Congressman,
what is wrong with you all?
Congressman,
you are so out of touch with what's 85% of this country does not support what you are spewing out right now.
We haven't spewed. The only one spewing is the guy who's talking uninterrupted right now.
How long does it take him to review this stuff? How long does it take him to review this stuff? These judges, he'll sit on his ass for months so these criminals can stay in this country. This is all this is. This is overreach. And I'll guarantee you, if his kids had been murdered or raped, as has happened in this country to several American citizens by these thugs, that he would be taking a different position. But he's protected. You all protect them. You all have got to come off this. Seriously, I don't know how you all sleep at night when you protect criminals, murderers,
Congressman,
and
rapists. Can I ask you to stop for 1 second here? I think if you go through and analyze the questions I asked, very carefully worded, they were about the Constitution. I think it's fair. The discussion before the judge today is not whether or not what they did was legal in regards to these gang members, and it may be the absolute right policy to get them out. The discussion before the judge today is whether or not the White House followed his instructions.
Get them out. If y'all want to issue a lecture, go ahead and issue a lecture and leave me off. But if we need to get those people out, they are criminals. Look at those thugs and tell me you want those thugs living in your neighborhood. Do you want them in your neighborhood? Do you want them running your apartment complex as they did in Colorado? No. Heck no. Look, you asked me my opinion. I gave it. I think the president is correct. I think Tom Homan is correct. I think America supports this, and we are tired of these activist judges reaching out way over their skis, and that's what this guy's done. Look at the history of this guy. He shows up at court cases. He's anti-Trump. We know this. Everybody knows this. This is no secret. This is just ridiculous. You all have way overstepped on this one.
After decades of listening to CNN spew nonsensical story after nonsensical story, trying to warp the way that we think about this issue, and then having the gall I mean, the absolute gall of saying, oh, we actually did cover this. Well, yeah, giving lip service to something, I don't think is the same as giving it actual coverage. Maybe if CNN had cared more about actual issues, Laken Riley might not have been a victim. And I'm not using her name I am not using her name in vain. I simply am trying to remind people, because this is the one that sticks out in my mind constantly. Because a violent Venezuelan had been detained multiple times across the United States in Democrat controlled cities, finally got his opportunity to leave New York City, came to Athens, Clarke County, where once again he was protected underneath Democrats as a sanctuary city, which, by the way, Athens, Clarke County, you might be the home to the University of Georgia. That's quite literally the resort in the third world country, and you know darn well that you don't step outside the resort. And yet, because she was inside UGA grounds, someone was able to come in and take advantage of her and ultimately ended her life. That is a problem in this country, and it's got to stop. And it's something that our federal government can indeed stop. That's why Donald Trump has invoked the Alien and Sedition Acts. One of the last remaining of those 4 acts is the Alien Enemies Act. And that's one that allows a president or a State Department or pretty much anyone in the executive branch to quite literally deport someone who is acting not only against American interests, but might be someone who is trying to take down the United States as best they can from within, or at least cause massive harm and damage, which is the case of Tren de Agua, which is a Venezuelan gang that has managed to infiltrate its way all the way to the United States, does the bidding of the dictator Maduro, who is actively destroying Venezuela, which, by the way, Venezuela should be the envy. Venezuela and Argentina should be the envy of South America. Argentina has figured out how to not be a socialist pit, for lack of a better phrase. And they're figuring out how to use the free markets properly, whereas Venezuela thinks that socialism is the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though under socialists you don't get any bread anymore. And so we have this judge who is using a good reason. All right, it is a good idea to have some sort of judicial review. But to be so late to the party that you issue a verbal order at the last possible second in order to get a plane around, I'm sorry, at a certain point, you snooze, you lose. All right, this is the judge here, Boasberg, who serves as the chief judge of the federal trial level court in Washington, D.C., agreed that those individuals' deportations should also be temporarily blocked while the legal challenge proceeds. Particularly given the plaintiff's information, unrebutted by the government, that flights are actively departing and planning to depart, I do not believe that I am able to wait any longer, Boasberg continued. Any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. I'm sorry. Okay? Judicial review. I love that idea. Okay? It's not technically enshrined in the Constitution entirely. There's some murky waters around that, but I like the idea. But you snooze, you lose, buddy. Okay, you waited too long, and now the flight had taken off, and now you are saying that this is acting outside of the bounds of the Constitution. Listen, buddy, I don't care. At a certain point, you need to ask yourself, are you looking out for the interests of the American people, or are you looking at the law from such a pedantic level that you can't understand that the American people might benefit more from the removal of violent criminals who are not here legally and are a part of gangs that want to seek as much destruction inside our country as possible? Look, I get it. The legal system that we have here in the United States is a little bit Byzantine, but it's also one of the better ones that we have. It ensures checks and balances. So I appreciate Boasberg for at least trying, but at a certain point, and for the third and final time, you snooze, you lose. You waited too long, and now you need to move on to another topic or move on to another case and see if you can figure out how to stop the Alien Enemies Act, because in that case, you will have more of a leg to stand on. Because right now, you missed your shot. The flight has taken off. It was over international waters. And so Tim Burchett is rightly espousing the sheer amount of anger that Americans have over this entire situation. The fact that Democrats have allowed them to, I hate using the word fester because I don't like using that term on human beings, but they've allowed this issue to fester. And then the mainstream media has done absolute absolutely nothing to deal with this problem or raise awareness of it outside of a few stories that give them lip service saying, oh, we covered this. Our hands are clean on this. Well, yeah, tell that to Pontius Pilate. It didn't end well for him. And finally, you now have a representative from his office back in Knoxville, and he is rightly angry at the media, at the Democrat Party, at Judge Boasberg. I don't blame him for his anger, and I share in it. As a Georgia boy who appreciates Georgia sports, and then someone who has been to Athens, Clarke County multiple times to deliver medical supplies, I can say it's a third world country over there. We deserve better policies. We deserve better protections. We deserve to be safe in our own country, and this is something our federal government can do and is, I believe, correctly using the law. But that is yet to be determined. I am very interested to see where this ends up. Let me know where you think this ends up down in the comments below, but ultimately, I think the president is acting inside of his bounds. Tom Homan did his job, and Tim Burchett is right to be mad at CNN in general, even though, and I do want to make this clear, I do appreciate this reporter. He was not being snarky like so many others on CNN will be. He was being earnest, and he was being calm. He was not being insulting. CNN, I think you found a good one here. Keep this dude, and your station might actually survive. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.